welcome to another update on Archmage Rises. This week's episode is not very exciting, and the reason for that is that I have nothing to show in the game. Boo.
Nothing to show, Thomas. Why is that?
Because my programming ability is only exceeded by my distraction ability. I've been wanting to say that all week. Okay, on the list of outstanding tasks, of which there's only 24 now, down from 28,
Nice.
there are big fat ones and little tiny ones. And last week I was able to bang off 3 tasks because they were moderately sized tasks. And so that kind of made me feel good, building momentum. It made, I think, everybody feel good. Because prior to that, for 3 weeks, not a single task had been finished on the task list. And so I was like, oh man. So my kind of way of working is to do like big task and then little tasks and then get the momentum back to go to a big task. Because big tasks, I gotta say, are pretty soul sucking. Because they just go on and on and on, and like at the end it's like, what am I really showing as a benefit from all that work? So this week I needed to tackle one of the big tasks, one of the ones I've been putting off, and that is the economy. And that's why this week's episode's called It's the Economy, Stupid. So basically the economy doesn't work, and the build from a year ago was way better as far as trading goes. Now we have a lot better systems and all kinds of stuff in place, but it just wasn't working, and so there's a lot of work that needs to go into just fixing that up and fine-tuning it and stuff. And I was real happy on Monday when I had 2 kind of aha breakthrough moments on how it should work, and then the rest of the week has just been figuring out how to implement those amazing ideas. So there's never a shortage of amazing ideas, and there's always a shortage of implementation ideas. So, so I really don't have anything to show this week. But we could talk about 2 other things that are interesting, I guess. But if you're just watching these videos in order to see the game itself, you can turn it off right now. But for those who stuck around, free ice cream! I'm going to put up a code, a QR code. You scan it, and Dairy Queen will send you a Blizzard. Okay, let's talk about Nick and Nick coming back to the game. So I've been working on this build, fixing things, fine-tuning things, polishing things, and basically there's a lot more of that to go. And I need Nick to work on things on the game, but not yet. And I don't know how long I'm going to be working on these kind of things, the rewriting stuff and whatever, the polishing stuff. I don't know how long it's going to take me to do that. So I told Nick that a little while ago, and I said, the ideal situation would be for you to continue on your current contract, or to find some other games you can work on while you're waiting for me, besides Hardlander, which doesn't pay you anything.
Nope.
And Hardlander is Nick's game, if you didn't already know that. And so obviously, waiting around for a month or 2 for your work to begin up again is not tenable for anyone. So what's going on, Nick?
So I guess I'm looking for another job, something to keep me going, basically.
Yeah.
I'd love to work on Archmage, as everybody knows. I love it. I'm excited about it, and I love working on it. So, I'm hoping that when Thomas has something for me, I'm looking forward to getting on it, getting back on it. That's what I want to do. But like Thomas said, right now it's like a lot of tuning and stuff, and so having me on board would just add cost and not necessarily. It wouldn't necessarily push it forward, at least. On a full-time type of situation. So I guess I'm going to look for a job, and I'm hope that Thomas, has something for me to do.
Yeah, so we talked about if you end up getting a full-time job, then you would work, you would just be moonlighting on the game because you really want to work on the game. And yeah. I want you to work on the game too. Actually, I'll be sad that you would only have limited time to work on it, but oh well. I think in the end you'll end up making more money that way. So So that'll be good for you and your family. But anyway, just one example of the kind of fine-tuning stuff that I don't need Nick for is in the equipment screen, like the core equipment screen, there's a font in there in the box, and it was illegible. Like there was you couldn't read what was going on there. It was too big. It was making the boxes too huge. So I went in and started changing the font. I started changing this and changing that size. And then I went to the TextMesh Pro font importer, started importing all these different fonts and trying out all these different fonts. I spent 45 minutes just on figuring out what font to stick into that thing, right? And that is not something that you could necessarily do for me because I would probably look at it and say, hey, that's not the right font. Like, it's not the right font face. And you say, yeah, I know. I went through this and this and this and this. And this is the best one. And I'm like, well, I want to see what the other fonts look like. And then I would have to do the whole thing again anyway, right? And so, anyways, after I spent that 45 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I kind of think I was the only one that could do that because it's not the same font as the rest of the game, and I know that, and I'm okay with it because I saw every other possibility, and they were all worse.
Yeah, and my talents do not go towards polish. I'm sort of a gameplay centric developer, and so when it comes to the look of things, good enough is good enough for me, and that's why you need Thomas to be doing the polishing because I just don't see the details as far as presentation.
Now, I hope this isn't offensive to you, Nick, but I got to say one of the funniest examples of Nick not noticing is when Roger made up a bunch of icons for the people that walk around on the map, and they were like full color, 24-bit icons that we gave, and then you threw them in the game, and because of some coding thing, they ended up being just black, just totally black, like devoid of color, and you like put them in, you're like, yep, they're all good. And then I got them like, no, there's something wrong with the icons. You're like, really? I thought they were working.
Yeah, they look better than my version. So.
They did look better than the programmer art, but I was just like, wow, he didn't notice it went completely black. So I think that's funny, and I like to point back at that, but I'm not trying to make you feel bad.
That's right. Hey, we all have our strengths, right? It's important to know your weaknesses as your strengths.
Yeah, so we'll just take all colors of the rainbow and put that under weakness for Nick. So anyways, so we don't know exactly what the future holds for you yet because you haven't landed that next gig thing yet. And
right.
And I'm still working away on Build 11. But the first person to test Build 11 will be Nick because you're going to go in and play all the gameplay stuff and see how it is before we unleash it to everybody. And I'm convinced now that we should do a beta release to the special Steam branch beta thing. We'll do that for the people that want to like try it out and give like first feedback before we release it to everybody. Other news on the Steam forums, there's this great guy that posted about the world generation and had like some questions about how that all goes and everything. And so he and I have been dialoguing on there, and a couple other people popped in on that too. And so it ended with he asked, hey, if it takes so long to generate a world, why not separate that out from starting a new game? Like, why don't you like generate a world, like basically like Dwarf Fortress does. You generate a world, okay, it's done generating. And for those who don't know, Dwarf Fortress takes about 12 and a half minutes to generate a world. So you generate your world, and then you go back to the main menu, and then you say new game, and then you pick a world, like one of the ones that have been generated. And so he's like, hey, why don't you do that? And that's something that Nick and I have talked about in the past, and I actually think that's a pretty good way to go. In general, I kind of like it, and I kind of like the idea of being able to play the same world again. And even though you would know kind of where everything is, I think with the way the simulator works, that the fact that one goblin lair is in this location, they may not replicate to the west, it'll replicate to the east. So like I don't think it'll be unfun to play through again, and it'd just be interesting to kind of see how far you can go in the same world, like over and over and over. But then that kind of leads my thinking to, if you could generate a world, can you edit the world? And I think that it would be really cool if you could. And I kind of have ideas on how that would go. some kind of world editor that you'd be able to go in, be able to plunk down towns, put people in it, put buildings in it, name each person, set their personalities, decide where the spiders are and where the goblins are and like that kind of stuff. Make your world, name it, and then you could share it with other people. Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, that would be cool, especially if you could like give them their names and their jobs and everything. You create interesting themed worlds. I also think this isn't something we should do for Build 11, Thomas.
I think we should put Build 11 on hold and just jump onto the world editor. I also think we should change game engines to Unreal because everybody knows Unreal has better graphics. Okay, so that's my Duke Nukem Forever joke. So anyway, it is not something that I intended to do from when we first started making Archmage, but I can see it would be logical and somewhat, I don't want to use the term easy. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to create a world editor, whether that's a program that I create in C# Windows Forms, or if it's like a Unity program, like kind of a Unity version of the game that's like different, that allows you to go in and modify all these things. But anyway, I am kind of curious, not because I'm going to do anything about it right now, but just, back burner kind of thinking and stewing on it kind of thing. I would like to know who would be interested to actually use that world editor and like create their own worlds. Like, how interesting is that to you? If that's a 10 out of 10 feature, if you're like, that is so awesome, I really, really want that, I would like to hear from you, and you can go and respond to the Steam forum post, which I'll put the link in the notes for this video update. So raise your voice, say if you want it, and then we'll know. So basically, if everybody who watches these videos suddenly goes and starts posting that, then I know, oh, okay, that's something to put more serious thought towards.
Right. If it's a 1 out of 10, then we want to know about it too, because
well, I can already list off a couple people. The guy I'm talking to on the forum right now, I don't recall his name right now because he's new. He'll say, yes, I want that. Will Sama has already said that would be awesome, so I already know Will Sama wants it. I'm going to guess that D-Row and Durhan also want that. So the usual suspects, I can imagine, we're going to say, yeah, that's awesome. But I want the people that watch the video, that never post and never reply, those people to come and say, yeah, I really want a world editor, so I can make worlds and share them maybe on Steam Workshop or something like that. That would be really cool. Makes it a little bit more like Neverwinter Nights, like the thing that really appeals about Neverwinter Nights. So anyways, Civilization has like a lot of replay value, especially since 4, because you could create your own world and then give it to people to then go and play in and stuff. And so I can kind of see how that would be useful to both have the longevity of the game, but the creativity on kind of a DM side of things, that you can create a world for other people to go and play in and stuff. So anyway, I'd like to see like how many replies we can get on the post saying like, hey, I would like that. So okay, so that's all I have for this week.
No, see you next week.
Okay, see you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.